Yeah, I'll give it a couple of minutes. Yeah, we're of course, anything we say now will be on the replay on these channels. But yeah, I got knocked off Facebook twice in 7 days. I went into the field. I thought I was Billy Badass the first time because I turned it because they sent me a note and they said like it'll be 2 weeks.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah,
Okay.
and then they sent me another one, but they all sent me about 25 or 30 different messages regarding videos going back to 2017.
Wow.
Yeah, so something's happening, but I'm very aware that uh, my one of my roles is not to take on or to take on what's presented to us all on a like on at the on a one-to-one basis
Yeah.
by the uh, I guess the methods, the processes and procedures from the paradigm that we're leaving or transforming from.
Hmm.
So things are becoming, you know, there's no alternative to work in the, by whatever means. As I'm coming into this understanding of, you work with the energetics. You see everything as energetics. There's no. It's like the universe. It's subjective. You
Right.
don't have a charge. If you have a charge, you go to work. But in terms of like, I keep have been feeling that at some level, and I can only speak for myself. I have to look at it that way. I have to detach 100%. And what does that mean? It means everything. There's no exception. So, and I'm going to be very open about this, and because that's just the way it is. But I'm sitting here today with a driver's license that's expired
Mm.
over a year, two license plates that are now expired. I'm totally not in the system. There's really no trace of me other than probably my local expenditures with the PayPal debit card. And I'm sitting here going, okay, do I engage? Is it a hybrid of both? Do I focus more attention as I've been doing every night on teleportation and remote viewing? And I'm not saying like these are things. I'm just saying utilizing my abilities that are innate. And I think the audio is just breaking up for you, Pamela. It should clear, or maybe refresh. But yeah. So, and then I'm watching everybody, and it's a beautiful thing at the same time that it is a almost bizarre. you know, you know what I mean? I mean,
Yep.
it's yeah. So I knew today would be a big deal because it's I had a really good show with Julie. She's amazing. New Earth, information and the cosmology and the way things work. It's amazing how that particular collaboration is just, you're doing 150 people on a live. That's got to be um,
Mhm.
something to that. But so I laid on the couch and connected. I went into session and oh my God, uh, the vividness of that. Well, first of all, the instantaneous ability or occurrence of stepping into dimension in a conscious state with my eyes closed, laying on the couch, the windows open, doors open, and the instantaneous experience was I was in a deep visual, almost a lucid dream type of detail, including smell, including everything. And I was like, wow. So I popped my eyes open. I thought, okay, wait a minute. Did I just see that? You know how you doubt yourself? And I went right
Mhm.
back into it, and there it was. These off-planet colors, pinks and blues and purples, and I'm looking at some stuff that I don't even know what it is. I'm like, what is that? And I'm looking and looking, and then I start to sneeze, and whenever I start sneezing a lot, something's going to happen. So I'm thinking, oh, Franco, yeah. So I had to take an extra few minutes, get my juice and make a little coffee. And yeah, I'm ready, and it's good to see you. I love you. I'm just all ears, and ready to serve humanity as we are and do every day. So good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Love you also, my friend. It's always a pleasure to connect with you because I don't know, we tend to create some magic of sorts with everybody that's on, because everybody that's drawn to be with us are part of this beautiful kind of transformation that we're going through. And I like what you said right from the beginning there, because what was happening right now, it's not so much that what we have to do, and wherever we have to put the focus on what's happening in the world, or what's happening, like you said, your license is this, that, whatever it is. Because what's the process that we're going through is kind of detaching from that, because that's kind of an old setup, an old way of doing things. I'm not saying that you don't do it, but the importance of it fades away, and you'll know when and if you have to engage on all of that. Because right now, many of us are being called to go into that quiet state where you're actually going into like the experience that you had, able to see that multi-dimensionality of yourself. You're able to get into the fabric of this holographic expression. And while you're there, you're actually seeing the platform, the original designed platform, and all the layers of the platforms that have been upgraded along the way. Because we're the ones that actually are changing the world through us, through the what you can call the human. But in essence, as you're doing that, you're becoming more online of your true essence that we've all gone through the process of disconnecting from to play that old game. So as we're going through all of this right now, we will notice the taking time to not only integrate, but actually to connect. And the thing is, what's happening right now and the amount of information that we are reactivating within ourselves and what is in the field itself, it's making it easier. It's almost like it's turbocharged in a way to push it in, but we're the ones that's opening it up. And as we're processing all of this, then you look at the world, and you're not only the view of the world changes, but the world itself becomes a little bit more transparent and much more fluid, so that you now see that you're actually the one that can change any part of that. And you can bring in any component of it, rather than seeing it that it's rigid and this is the only way it works, and that we have to work around that, what we have. So what I wanted to say is that it's no longer about seeing what we have to play with as a reference point. We look at what's there, but now we're going into what do we choose to change, what we see, what we experience, the connections and so forth, and what parts of it do I want to reactivate and bring back, like connecting into all of these, because many of us are using what we call parallel choice points that we have created, because we do create many different parallel versions of it. They're no longer parallel rigid versions. They're sampling plates of sorts. Like you're going in there and I say, okay, I want to see what this looks like if I make this choice. If I go here, I'll play with this if I go there, and whatever else. So you can kind of see all of those bits and pieces, bring any part of it, and then you actually, where your focus is, where you're actually going to experience it here collectively and personally, is on this stream that you're looking at. So you're able to see all of that more and more. What's happening for a lot of people is they no longer feel the heaviness and the restrictions of everything that's playing out. So the chaos around them becomes less and less impactful, and it becomes less and less real. And it's like just the background, which will fade away because we're stepping into changing all of that and aligning it to what you are becoming. And each one of us is that piece of that new world expression and so forth. So there's so many amazing things that are occurring. And the realization that a lot of people are having at this point is the realization that the fact is what we have seen and what we are seeing and what we are experiencing does not have to have a hold on us, does not need to dictate how we do things, how we see things and play things any longer. So it doesn't matter if there's mandates or there's anything of that nature. You don't even have to fight it, because I notice some people, go into this fight mode, and it's kind of one of the part of the transition that we go through. And it's like, no, they're telling me what to do. I don't want to do it, and I want to fight it, and so forth. But what the realization we're having, what we are turning back on, is that that's just the movie that's playing out. And I have full freedom how much I engage, don't engage, and how I can change every part of it. So that, in fact, that it doesn't matter what is being projected, it doesn't become part of your experience. And you can dictate how much of it that plays. Because part of the other level of realization is that most of the changes, okay, occur in our altered state, in our imagination, in our dream state. And then that's where the alterations are made, and the first layer of experience is happening. But the true, more what we can call realized or more real feeling experience is in this playground that we're having. Now, what you've also described as the shifts that you went through, the things that you would have smoked before, the things you may have eaten before, the things that you would have used as distractions before, and so forth, those are changing because you're changing. You're going into this higher state that does not require any of that as a governor. Because many of us, what ends up happening for many people is that as things are changing so quickly, we set up a kind of, I wouldn't say just a reliance, but we use various levels of what we can call distractions, but things that actually alter our energy so that it doesn't shift as quickly, and then gives us the opposite for periods of time. But then that necessity, or that what you feel is necessity, fades away. And then you're like, I'm diving right in. I'm going to play with whatever. And you will find those changes will occur. And even if you've had what we call addictions, will just fade away. Because now the addictions are not in hold of you. You're the one that chooses, do I use any fragments of this any longer or not? And sometimes, we get a little resistant and we need to get our asses kicked of sorts. So, like all of us, at some point you get a real major thrashing of sorts from your highest perspective, and you like have a crash mode or whatever it is, and you kind of go into panic. But then all of that just fades away. And things are moving so quickly that it doesn't even have to be that difficult, because there's such more of, I don't have to fight it. It's like, it doesn't resonate. I drop.
It's a very natural. It's a natural progression. It's a very. It's not a discipline. It's not a fight. It's weird, but it's yeah. So yeah, that's you're always able to do that. Take the information and go, okay, here it is. So I wanted to ask you about something.
Yeah.
So you talk about simulations, and we alternate realities, so to speak, parallels. There are a lot of this, possibly quite maybe all of it's these simulations that we run. So used in the context of what I was talking about, and what seems to be the physical experience of this human being, I'm playing with simulations. Now, I'll tell you an example of this. Okay, so I was editing some videos, trying to find things, and I ran across the David Icke from January 13 when he first came on, and at the beginning of the show, I asked him a question, and he says at the end of his response, he said, "There's two types of people in the world right now, and one of them basically take whatever is offered to them, and they make whatever choices that they make, which is typically conformance and I guess if you want to call it alignment with that, which he goes on to say is presented obviously by governments and such and all that." He said the other one, and that those folks at that time were basically locked in their homes. And so then he said the other one are people that are going, something's not right here. Mm-hmm. And on that whole thing. And then he says, and those people are faced with, if you don't follow these directives and mandates, then you will be locked up. And I really sat with that for a long time because I had seen that piece before when I was doing some editing. And I thought, yeah, that's, And he also said, by the way, at the end of it, he said, and these are the people, as they make the choices to not align with what's presented, that will change the world. And that number's growing. Rah, rah, rah. But in all respect to him. But I got to thinking about it. I thought, wow, this doesn't fit anymore. It's not a two-dimensional thing. It's not two. It's like there's something has changed since January. And what I'm getting at is, so I started to play with the apparent circumstances, where you're at, where you want to go, what's real, what's not, what is presented as the only paths to your dreams, and what are the other possibilities. Now, if I'm in dimension, I can pull a lightsaber out of my, my pocket, or a magic carpet, or whatever it is. But I'm in this space between worlds. And so I start to play, and it goes from one end to, let's say, I'll go to, I'll go to the hood and in the Bronx, and I'll find a fake ID. Or I'll go join the Merchant Marines and jump off the ship somewhere, and do what I want to do. The whole idea being not specific to this individual, but more of a collective kind of new pathways. How do we blaze these new trails? What are the possibilities? And it's not about why, it's more like, why not? Like, why not try this, and why not? So it could be teleportation on this end, and it could be becoming a Merchant Marine on this end, to contribute to the energy of a free soul that's embodied in this physical vessel. And so I was wondering, and now that you said what you said about where this is coming from, where the real change is coming from, the first thing I thought, which is what you mentioned, was dream state and so on. But you said imagination, and this is what struck a chord. I didn't plan this question, is that the stimulus from the imagination is getting stronger. It's becoming more prominent. You could say there's more confidence in it. And this is a part of our existence that has never been given any credence. It's been, oh, that's kind of cute, and oh, well, that's creative, but my feeling is to continue to go down this path and to create that which I'm seeking from that place at a conscious level. And I have a feeling that running these simulations, which are in essence contained within myself multiple timelines, I will then begin to do what we're doing, and that's to converge to the one highest and best timeline for Todd and all involved. Okay, so that's kind of how I would explain it. Am I nuts? Well, we know that. Don't answer it. But in all seriousness, does this feel right? Is it possible? Because to imagine my way to my new reality, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple of things happening in regards to that. Yes, you're right about the simulation. And we use the simulation. We do a lot more simulation than we imagine. Some of it is in the dream state, some is in an altered state, some of the simulation we're doing while we're doing your regular chores or whatever you're doing. We're doing simulation in that regard. And, of course, what used to be comfortable was one thing, but now it's outside of that. But when we're talking about imagination now, imagination, creativity, all of that stuff that we've been playing with, not only are we being, like you said, being urged to use more of it and to even get out of the boxes that we have created or patterns that we have created, to go beyond that. What else has occurred is that because we're getting so much more input and more being turned on of ourselves, that the capacity of imagination is reaching new levels. And the old stuff that we would imagine that was really involved in the old inverted world, or was involved in what we call manifestation, because manifestation is using what we already have been using and created a pattern for. Where when we're going into the dream state, when we're going into the imagination state, when we are creating with those two combinations and the extra, like I think Jason calls it data point, but really it's more access to yourself and to your sourceness, that expands. And as you're expanding, that level of imagination goes into realms that you didn't even imagine before, or even gave credence to a possibility. Now, what seemed to be impossible is really, when the more we get accustomed to it, we see that nothing's really impossible. We may throttle it down for periods of time to give us integration time and to respect other aspects of ourselves as we're playing, but we're not going to actually stop it and say this is all we're going to do. We're just going to keep inching away and expanding it even further. With that, we're also, with that imagination, you will see that your reality, the field around you, the scenery around you, the engagement of others, what actually becomes a focal point, it moves and reshapes and shifts way faster than ever before. This is why I think we've talked about it in one of the episodes, one of our conversations before, is that you can be having a particular experience, and if you just step back for a few minutes, just reconnect with yourself and imagine something different and walk back into the same scenario, it's going to be very different. In fact, even the people that would have gave you a hard time is not going to give you a hard time anymore, because that is no longer there. Now, some people can call that a part of a simulation and say, well, I wanted to simulate that to do whatever that wanted to experience. But in fact, what's happening is that you are realizing that you have much more powerful to change things than we were led to believe, or have adopted the idea of what is possible. Now, people talk about changing the world. Well, yeah, we can do it the what we call two-dimensional way, where you either accept what's offered and comply to it and adopt it and get involved in it and do not question anything, or that you start questioning it. That's the other side. You start questioning it, you start judging it, you start getting angry about it, fighting it, and so forth. But there's a third option. The third option is using a fifth dimensional consciousness state, and that is looking at what's there, see how it matches, and say, okay, now this is what I want to create. So now you go into your imaginative state, and you now imagine a new world. So when you're doing that, you're connecting that to your source essence, and you're now reconstructing your reality to not only match you, but what also Gaia's offering, saying, hey, go ahead and unpack it, and then also the solar system and so forth, but also all our brother sister souls. So you're basically going into all of those layers and reconstructing. So that is the most efficient way to do it. And it is the way that we're being called to do it. So it's no longer about acceptance or fighting it and doing it the hard way. It is now going into this other state where you are now going into the core codes, the light spectrums, and you're making the changes there through imagination, through dream state, and so forth. Now, I know some people say, hey, if you don't fight the system, it's going to wipe you out. It's going to, crush you or put you in this box and whatever else. But I know this from a mind ego perspective, say, no, we either accept or fight, but that's your 2D thing. But the other part is, no, I'm the one that actually can change every part of it. And we're doing it together. So what do we want to create? What do we want to, bring in that does not have those restrictions? And not only that, when you go to that, you will come up with different ways that wasn't even imagined before or never even seemed possible before, because you allowed yourself, this is the thing, you allowed yourself to do what you said, natural. You're going into your natural state. The thing is, our natural state has been always using an expanded imagination, realizing self-creation and so forth. But then when the inverted stuff came in, it went into fight or acceptance and go back and forth. And then the polarity, the separation. But the separation also separated us, and this is kind of an agreed, separated us from ourselves, separated us from what we can actually do and who we are. We've lost the idea, and this is where we're coming back. We're going back to realizing who we are, that we are this source essence, that we are this creator, that we are here because we are doing what we're here to do, because that's what we do. It's our natural state. So we're bringing back our natural state to this reality. And that's how we make the changes. So, you know how we talk about there's a lot of changes going on. The energies are supporting us and so forth. But at the same time, how is it all possible for us to unpack this new world? And I'm not talking new world order. I'm talking about this new world. How do we unpack this new reality, new state of way of being, by doing it through steps and processes and so forth? No, it's because we're getting turned on. We are stepping back into our state, and we're now doing it from that facet. So a computer programmer can say, well, I can put enough filters to change all the colors, and I can, change the way that it's going to show up on the screen, and put a lot of different codes in there. Or I just go in and reprogram it so I can have more vivid colors, more flexibility, more freedom. And that's the thing. So that's what we're doing, is we're going into our own software, and then the collective software. The collective software is the organic matrix. The organic matrix responds to us, responds because the organic matrix takes our upload, whatever we're sharing, and now makes it open for many others to use it, because we want to create a certain level of commonality as the playground, because we've come here to play together, and they're all aspects of ourselves anyway.
Yummy. No, I love it. And you're right. You step into that field of imagination, and this is what I do. Or this is my part of my evolution, is I go, wait, I don't have to bring that with me. That can be over there because it's now you're in the literal world and it still has this, you know, but how real is that? I'd say to myself, how real is I've got a friend, Lawrence Wendell. Uh, I might have told you about him. You know, 5-6 years ago, he gets the download. He turns in all his stuff. He burns everything. He ends up going into jail 20-25 times. He goes before the judge so many times. The judge finally says, you know what? I don't have an answer for you. He says, I'm a sovereign soul and I don't have a car, you know, and he's currently in Mexico. He's gone to Canada. He's crossed the border as there's lines to show your papers, and he just walks through. And sometimes he gets caught and sometimes he doesn't, but he's never backed off. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I see what he's doing, you know, and I go, he's embodying something for the collective. This is his part of the mission, and I'm tapping in and going, he's right. It's a little too radical for me, but it's somewhere between the two, right? So I see that in some way, and we talk about it. You know, what you put your attention on grows, right? But so what does that mean? What you don't put your attention on, it dies. It goes away. Yeah.
Well,
So
this is the thing, and I wanted to share one little piece to that. Sorry to interrupt. Is that you're absolutely correct. The thing is, for us to drop any focus on any of that stuff that, you know, that this has to be this way or that way, is so natural for us. This is why you see the media and everything else keeps pumping over and over again. We need to be afraid. We need to follow these rules. We need to be restricted. We need to do this, this, and this. The reason there's so much emphasis because it's unnatural. We cannot contain it. So the thing is, our attention would drop like this, and we would go more at our natural state where we want to be playful. We want to connect with one another. We're not going to be afraid of each other. We're not going to take advantage of each other. We're not going to feel that, you know, we have to survive or anything. None of that would be, none of it is sustainable, but it is projected and it's drilled over and over again. But what we'll notice is that it's becoming less and less effective. And we are buying into it less and less. And that's why they ramp it up even further. But then there's a flip side to it. The flip side is the collective of us had said, listen, you can push all you want. And we want you to push it. But I want you to do one other thing. I want you to be so incoherent, so wishy-washy, so flipping back and forth, so apparent that we have no idea what we're doing, make it so visible that it is crazy to play there anymore, so that all other aspects of ourselves that are in denial still and are still holding back get to see it. Look at all that's all happening in the world. You know, every time they try to spin it again, it is even more insane, more nonsensical. It's more unstable. And every time that happens, it wakes up more people. It gives more people the opportunity to say, hey, I'm not going to feed or support this any longer. And they're stepping back. Now, so this is kind of what we're doing. We're doing this, and many of us may not realize it, but we're saying, hey, if we got to play with this, let's make use of it. Let's bring all other facets of ourselves online, or at least as many as possible. And that's how it's going and playing out. So the interest factors to comply is weakening. The interest factor of feeling fearful, because fear can be pushed to a certain degree. And then what ends up happening, you start to realize, F this. I'm not having any fun. And what's the use of being alive if I have to live in a box? If I have to live under a cage, that I don't have the freedom and I can't do what I want to do. I going to go and do what I want to do and F all of this. I'm not even going to go there. And that's more of that is going on for all of us. And what are we doing? We're just basically seeing that I don't have to comply, I don't have to play, and I don't have to fight either. And I don't have to prove anything either. Because that's where, where we feel natural in that regard. So, the whole thing with us going into this so-called intensity, especially in the next few months, it's another strong kick. But the thing is, like, how we start talking about simulation, we're all simulating personally, but we're also simulating collectively.
Yeah.
And the simulated collectively is what we're seeing. And we're seeing it in different ways. A wave comes in and then it changes, and and those are just giving ourselves an opportunity to get our feet wet of sort and say, okay, how does that feel? It's not what I want to focus on. So you make adjustments, and this is the thing: we're all active making adjustments, and it doesn't matter, if we look like we dived in and we're lost in the game or whatever it is. Many of us are feeling it. When I say many of us, many of the collective are feeling it regardless. That, yeah, I'm diving into this, but there's something that does not only not making sense, it doesn't resonate. You got a ickiness within yourself, and it doesn't matter how deep you think you're bought into it. Look at the people, and I think we may have talked about this, but it's worth reminding. Look at how many people have become evangelists. The evangelists of the jab, evangelists of these waves, evangelists of, the ones that have been and the ones that haven't. Why? Why is it so important?
Right.
Why did they give it any power? The ones that have made that choice, and they have to convince as many people. And in fact, they got to blame as many people because of the ones that didn't, or whatever it is. Why? If you ask yourself the question, all of us, if we ask ourselves the question, why is it so important to convince as many people as possible that they got to be jabicated, that they have to be like us? Because they bought into the game to a certain degree, and now it's like, I think I was wrong, or and I say wrong meaning maybe that choice wasn't great. But if I convince enough people, if I see that others are falling for it, then I shouldn't feel so bad about myself for making that choice or even giving it power. And this is the thing, because when I ask people that say, well, did you get jabicated? And I go, no, I didn't, and I have no interest in it, and then they go, and then I ask them, why is it so important to you? Why is it so important? Well, you're putting other people at risk. But I said, is it really that the case? And you start questioning it, and then they kind of lose why they're even doing it. And it's almost like it gets dropped and the discussion ends. But you can tell that they're now in a deeper level of reflection.
Yeah.
Maybe, and this applies to a lot of different things that are going on right now. And it's all part and parcel of what we're going through, of these changes that we're experiencing. We're doing it all different methods. And we can't say, some people are right, some people are wrong, whatever it is. No, it's right for whatever anyone needs for the experience. Now, you said something very important before. All of us are playing a role here. And all of us are doing it in different fashion. And we're going to take on different experiences, and we're going to take on different simulations for one reason. Those levels of simulation all add up to what the collective needs to experience. But we don't have the time, because we're not making the time for all of us to experience the same thing. So each one of us are figuring a piece of the puzzle and loading it up. Another one figures that piece of the puzzle, loading it up. Now, they will have their own experience, and they say, well, okay, that experience wasn't all that great. I now imagine this. That puts it into the field. And everybody's now doing their part. And what's happening? The reality is reshaping accordingly. The energies and the encodements behind it, everything is changing because of that. And we're all doing it, regardless. If you're active or an extra, if you're swapping souls or not, it doesn't matter. All of it is all part and parcel, all of this that's happening out right now. So when we say, well, what's true and what's not true, what is the truth? There is a fact, a baseline of how things actually work, but that was constructed for us to be able to play in this game. But we're going to give focus and we're going to give power to various ideas of truth to have a specific experience, to do a simulation, and then upload a more clarity, truth, or understanding into the collective, which allows everybody to have access to. And that's how we put the puzzle together. Each one of us is creating a piece of it and refining each piece of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because what you said about the flip side of what's being presented or played out, because it's first of all you have a newfound I have a newfound respect for Joe Biden.
Mm.
And the reason I do is because he's the epitome. He's the point person. Just as Trump was the point person for the energy of let's rile this thing up and kick the can. You now have somebody who's the point person uh, of the distortion, and it's very for because I don't see a lot of people comment on it. You know, it used to be very polarized politically. I don't see a lot of polarization, which tells me there's not a whole lot of people putting stock into this energy called Joe Biden. Nothing personal. We're talking energy. But the fact is, all you got to do is watch 4 or 5 news conferences in the last 4 or 5 days because it's only getting worse. It's, from a human perspective, embarrassing. But from a soul perspective, from an expanding, awakening soul, it's perfection. So I look at that. And then the other thing that seems to be expanding as well, because I've mentioned it before on these shows with you, is, for instance, I see a headline, and you see many like this: lawyer who represented so and so, which by the way has nothing to do with COVID or vaccines. Lawyer who represented so and so who refused to get the jab dies of COVID. Now you turn the page, and the next thing you read is 800 million military haven't taken the jab, and now it's been mandated by the chief director of whatever, whoever, CIA, whoever it was. And you think, oh, there's a whole bunch of people saying no, and they're putting that information out there. They're not damning them. You know, I didn't read the whole article. And then you see there's an outbreak in such and such city or region all of a sudden. And oh, by the way, 33% of those people that got it had the jab. So there's this conflicting information. It's almost like you said before, these are our brother sister souls, and their role is to push us as far as they can to see how much we'll take, which is very hilarious. So now I just wanted to add that to what you were saying because I see that out there, and I'm sure other people do. You mentioned extras. You mentioned in some of the stuff you were talking about. You mentioned Jason Estes, and I am putting this on the table not to, and you know, we're the same, you and I, not to have a debate. It's not about that. We're just comparing notes. And like you just said a minute ago, everybody's got a different piece. So I look at this energetically, not in the literal aspect of what's said verbatim. Okay. Because I'm really a bit tentative to even mention stuff like this because everybody's been affected for the most part by this group mentality of, is it going to be okay? How many people are awake? How long is it going to be? So I don't want to feed that. But from an energetic standpoint, he said something, that I sit with. I know that the snowball's getting bigger. I know that. Everybody knows that. You can feel it. It's on the tip of our tongue. You know, it's right there. He said that there would be upwards of 6 billion walk-ins between this month and November. Now, I'm not caught up in that. I'm more interested in the momentum and what looks to be, if this interpretation that our brother has put out there, of the energetics of it. In other words, it looks the snow. If this were accurate, and I'm just saying on a personal level, I'm still sitting with it, and I'm the world's biggest optimist, believe me. But I what I'm saying is, it looks that it would be very rapid, and it would be, and the snowball would get very large, very quick, prior to 2022. So, not to get hung up on the number of and how many people, this and that, but just the pure energetics, using his terms. Does that resonate with you? Or and if or maybe how do you see that, um, the speed and expansion of this energetic snowball that we're all part of, uh, in that time period?
Mhm. Well, that's a good one because when I heard it, because somebody else asked me the question a little while ago, I decided to tune into it and so forth. I knew that the amount of souls coming in and going and so forth have been increasing for a little while now. But what I realized with this, when I looked at it, even if it is 6 billion, as stated, um, there's a couple of things we have to look at. And somebody may turn around and say, well, it's, well, that's going to advance things. Well, everything is advancing it right now, no matter what. Like, even going back to what you were saying to Joe Biden. I mean, he is playing a very specific role. And, the thing is, look at it this way. People have put a dependency on others, so-called leaders, so-called groups, to make our life nice or nasty. This whole craziness with the governments and all of these things is really just so that we come to the realization to drop dependency, to drop reliance, to drop expectations that, if this guy comes in, things are going to be better. Things will go back to normal. Or that if this guy comes in and he is, seasoned, he's been around for a long time, he doesn't do nasty tweets or anything of that nature, he's going to be the solution. Well, what are they showing you? Hey, it doesn't work. It's not that. It's us. It's us. So we're going to show you the most messed up, confused, and whatever else. And this is part of the service. Don't think he's not part of our, our collective service, so that we're the ones. So yeah, this thing about what's happened just recently can project war and exits and whatever else. Well, the thing is it what he did? Yeah, you could look at it on the 2D side of it, or the inverted stuff, and say, yeah, well, it was his choice because he didn't follow the same sequence that Mr. Trump would have done, or whatever it is, and this is why we have that. Well, why did it play out this way? It played out this way because it wasn't for him to solve it. It's for us to say, are we still going to give power to all of this? Are we going to still give power to this whole game that we have to kill each other, that we have to take advantage of each other, and so forth? That's one thing. So I just wanted to bring that part up. Back to what we started to talk about, the souls. There may as well be 6 billion souls that will come and attempt to enter physicalities. Now, there's several things that are happening. Some will be occupied. Some of these will be occupying available physicalities we call the extras, the non-active ones.
Mm-hmm.
Some will occupy bodies that are souls that have done their part and going to leave and say, okay, I'm done with this. Others will be occupying physicalities that are saying, for example, I have to leave for a while to go for updates, upgrades, or whatever it is. So I'm going to make it available for a month or a year or whatever. I don't know how many, it could be days, even hours. And so they can drop in. So as these so-called drop-ins are coming in, they're kind of tuned with very specific frequencies. So even if they're here for 5 minutes, or if they occupy for 5 days, or they occupy for 5 months or weeks or years, they're all going to play a part. Now, others will attempt and will find that the physicalities that they're coming into, they cannot work with, and they will leave. So regardless what happens, how many stay, how many will come in and go, regardless of any of that, every attempt, every temporary embodiment, every trial of sorts, or any swapping that occurs will just only add to this. The thing we don't want to get lost in is that, okay, this is happening and this will make it better. Yes, we may be setting the stage, we may be bringing certain parts of it, but it's not up to us to say, okay, I'll wait it out and wait for these 6 million, or even if it's 1 billion, or if it's only 1,000, whatever is going to come in to fix it. No, we are the ones doing it. No one else is. So no matter what role any drop-in will come in, it's still not done for us.
Mm-hmm.
We are doing it. Now, because we may be interacting with some more higher beings of sort, and when I say higher, they're still aspects of us. They are still the same as us. They may just have different experiential realm, and they may have coming in from a higher dimensional, meaning a little bit more recognition to it. We'll only do one thing. We will be able to connect with that energy and bring self-realization that we have that same capacities within us, and we are actually going to turn ourselves on a little bit more. That's all. But really, it's us. This is the whole thing that has been discussed for years. Don't wait for a savior of, say, a deity to come. Don't wait for our brother, sister souls as aliens or ships invasions or anything of that nature, or wait for a specific leader or anything of that nature. Because even the shift that they're planning, that we are collectively agreeing, which is having a council in place at some point, which is attempting to come on this year, before the end of the year, it's really just there to kind of provide guidance. It's us that are doing it. And we're not saving ourselves. All we're doing is turning ourselves on a little bit more. We're starting to realize who we are, and we're taking a more direct, imaginative, creative, dreamless state part of bringing that new world component in. One of the things we made very clear from a collective standpoint, don't come and tie our shoes. We want to practice and learn. Maybe give us a couple of hints, but we want to do it ourselves. And I'm just using that as a simple analogy. That's all it is. So we want to do it ourselves, because when we're doing it ourselves, we become more powerful. We get to see what capacities we have. We get to also dive into resources that we've had dormant for the longest time. We get to see that we are this source, this essence, this creator being, that there is nothing outside of us that is overshadowing us or anything of that nature. Look at it this way. Every time a planet gets retooled, every time a new physicality is designed, there are facets of us that have taken a scientific role and we're talking multidimensional scientific role, to create a spectrum of holographic light, or what we call avatar, in a playground, which all of us as multidimensional souls and also localized souls, or whatever it is, will take on, step into it, and then make it a reality, then expand it. Because the engineer may design it, but somebody has to expand it, unpack it, live it, and bring it to the next level. We don't come here to be stagnant experiencers. We came here to experience and grow and continuously grow, because that is our true nature.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So saying, okay, we retooled the planet 15,000 years ago. We made these physicalities using 12 different DNA strands, 12 different species blends, and so forth. But what are we going to do with it? What are we going to do with it when we're here? What ratios are we going to activate? What are we going to create in our reality? So when the Matrix came along, it created a baseline. But how are we going to shape it? What are we going to bring into it? How are we going to upgrade it to match us as we upgrade? But we're doing it all. It's not outside of us.
Mm-hmm.
There is no puppeteers, pulling our strings. There is no deity saying, this is how it works. It says, these are some of your possibilities, and you have these capabilities, and you've kind of agreed to do so. So go ahead and go and do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it works.
Yeah. And so anything that you say, or, anything that anybody says, I always look at, and I've said this before, I look at it a lot like getting your fortune told. They can be 100% accurate, but the minute you walk out the door, everything's subject to change. So it's really a trajectory or a snapshot with a, and by virtue of that, to have a general idea of what it looks like, where it's going. So that's what I look at. I'm not looking at, it could be a situation where there's 6 billion walk-ins and every one of them walk into me. Now, energetically speaking, the entire world is getting the same amount of this energy coming in, whatever that does or doesn't do. Okay. In the best of worlds, you go, oh, all these extra people are going to have individual souls now, and that 75-80% of the world is now going to be lit. And okay, that's not where I'm going. I don't even give a shit, to be honest with you. I'm more interested in, like, okay, 13,000 years ago, we made a decision. The humans that were walking the earth didn't know. But what they did know is there was a big ass flood. And it's imprinted itself on our history and in our psyche and in our DNA. And it was, I guess, the beginning of that new era where here we are now. So I look at it the same way. If that were accurate, and I still as an individual sit with it, it's just a snapshot. It's just a download with a projection and an offering for our brothers and sisters that he's offered. And there's many, many around the world that I'm sure that this happens. We're not even privy to. My question is that type, and I love your explanation because it doesn't mean they're going to stay. I mean, how many of us wanted to stay? So, who the hell is going to want to stay? You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that could be discussed, but again, I'm just looking at the energy. Like that would be a substantial impact, regardless of whether they stay or they go. Mm-hmm. And not from a question of, oh, is this almost over? I mean, because regardless of who tells us what, nothing's going to change. The universe, because of our choice that we don't want them to tie our shoes, okay, is going to force us, or nudge us into a place of a greater self-awareness, and everything that goes with it. So I just wonder if there's, and if you look at the pattern of at least since 2017, there always seems to be a strong, energetic nuance and newness that comes in, say, September, October, November. 11/11 always seems to start this new thing, and then you go into the, and the story. So but to me that seems like a very substantial thing to consider. Like that would just seem to, and you said, I think, and other people said, by the time we get to the end of this year, you're not going to recognize where we're at. And you would think on a linear timeline, of course, that, oh, this takes time. This big ship, you got to take time to move it around. But we're not in that field anymore. And I think it's sooner or later we're going to see some evidence of it. And looking at all this distortion, including our beloved brother, President, or Joe, we'll just call him Joe. You're Franco, I'm Todd. But looking at the things that are being presented, it sure looks like that the shift's rising to the top. I mean, it's like coming out fast. So I'm not discouraged. I'm not looking for a lifeline. I mean, I think it just seems like, we talk about this imminent precognition, and many times, and you get this and bring this to us, and others get it on an individual level where something's about to happen and you can feel it, and then it does, and you have a lion's gate or you have this or that. But that really kind of lends to a huge, I'm not going to say a solar flash, but because I don't want people to get caught up in these words, but it really feels like there's a really big, powerful energy that's been slowly coming, about to be dropped on us, and I mean that in the best ways. What we do with it is what we do with it. But so when I listened to that, when I heard that, I said, that's pretty bold. And not to take anything away from him or give him anything. It's not about that. It's just because what do? We make each other think. And that leads to a more openness. And we know that the more open we are, the less attached we are, the less resistant, less judgment, and so on, that this is how it works. So that's really, I guess what I'm saying is, and I know you have some insight, but it really feels, and I'm not aligned with it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not 100% aligned with it, but it kind of lends to what I'm feeling and what I'm picking up from other people and what I'm seeing through the distortion, through the dimensional experiences and everything. And I'm saying this with elation. I'm saying this with let's do it. You know me. So it's exciting. And I just wondered, because I know you, and I know that you are careful, and I'm not saying he's not. That's not it. He's got his his own semantics and his own, and you do too. But you temper. You're careful, and I just wanted to know, if you can say, what do you think? Is this snowball about to go exponential? I mean, if whatever you can tell us, right?
Well, the thing is, with anything that's brought up, there's an intent. Okay. Now everything becomes an intent. You lay out the plans, but you take steps, you monitor, and so forth. This is why you cannot project the future, because it doesn't exist. It's not like before you had multiple potential futures. There is no potential futures. Like you said, you take a snapshot and you project forward. If things change very little, then we'll have it. But if we don't, because you just were previewed, the choices you would have made now just changed. So of course it's not going to play out the same way. And this has been happening for almost 10 years now, where you cannot really project any longer. This is since 2013. It became so unprojectable.
Unpredictable?
Unpredictable.
So for instance, as an example,
you can't project it with
no, I got you. No, I got you. I'm just saying, but as an example, so maybe we can understand better. Because I mean, you've been like this. You've always been this weird. So in 2013, you were doing the same thing you're doing now. Let's say in 2013, or maybe even a little bit sooner than that. if somebody in those meetings or in that field of communication that you dip into, if they'd have said, "Oh, Donald Trump's going to be president in 2016," I mean, did you really know, or was it even spoken? I mean, you know what I mean? And it doesn't have to be that, but have there been some surprises?
Yes, there have been. Some of the things you're shared. This is just the way it's going to go, and it's going to work out no matter what it is. And then it seems like my surprise is, really, come on, that can really happen, and it does. But then at the same time, you also get, well, then as you're going along, when the next time came along, you get both. What surprised me also specifically was this whole COVID thing that came out, because I knew I was shown this in August of 2019 and it was in the works and whatever else. And they were showing me that this is the intent of what they're going to do. And also at the same time, what they intended to do, which was my brother, sister souls, all of our brother, sister souls, not mine, all of us, had said, we're not going to allow it to go how they intended. So we're going to dwarf it. We're going to change it. But they have a second spin. And the second spin is they're going to create an illusionary pandemic sort of thing. And then when I got a glimpse of what this high potentiality was, where people were going, I was going, come on, people are going to fall for this for that long and that deep and just keep going and milking it. It seemed impossible. My mind was going, no, really, come on, right? So when it did roll out, and it's still playing today, it was kind of a surprise. But, it didn't become a surprise at this point now, because at this point you see it differently. One other surprise that was the big one for me is that when I got a lot of intel before 2012 and what was intended to happen by 2017, of where we are now, minus the COVID thing, minus that, where we are now with this massive movement and so forth, this was supposed to be by the end of going into 2017. All of this where we are now was supposed to have already happened, for 4 years.
Okay, so are you talking about our expansion or the stuff presented to us, or both?
The expansion, the shifting of the people getting to a more, where people are recognizing things more now, awakening more now, and, the chaos that's ensuing, all that was supposed to have happened at that time. So when it showed me all of that, that was, I had, at that point in time, I kind of dived in and I said, okay, well, something, that's their intent. I don't see why it wouldn't go. Now, there was a part of me saying, well, that's not that long of a time, 5-year span. It was actually 6-year span. And I go, that's a little short to make it happen. But anyways, that's okay. And go away. But then I noticed that as we were going along, delays, it was changing. And so I questioned every time I was in their presence and we were having a kind of a powwow together in the group. I said, well, what's going on here? How come some of the things that were staged before are not happening? And they said, well, the feedback and the simulations that we're having, people are demanding to slow it down because they want some more time to finish off certain things. I go, well, are you going to listen to them? Let's get the ball rolling, right? No, we got to do all of this. So there were several things that were taking precedence of delaying for the service of humanity as a collective, to give them time to kind of wrap things up. It wasn't until we got into 2019, the end of 2019, going into 2020, and I remember this happening near the end, the last few months, they said, ready or not, we're not stopping it anymore. We're going to never push it enough to bring the breaking edge or break people to that point, but we're no longer delaying anything. And I go, okay, great, But I remember I even talked about it in some of the shows I did, and I remember those ready or not, we're moving, and things really ramped up, especially when we get into 2020, and then of course 2021, and where we are today. Things are really ramped up, and nothing has backed off. In fact, it seems to be, taking up even more of a speed. So the stuff that's unfolding right now, and even what we were talking about earlier, drop-ins, those are intents come in. The intents are put in, and then they're monitored, and if it needs to adjust accordingly, it will. Okay, so putting ourselves and saying, okay, we're in motion, let's do what we need to do, whatever it is. But the thing is, one of the messages I have received over and over again from my higher self and from any other interactions I've had. Get this. Enjoy the opportunity you have now for massive growth and massive completion and massive polarity and massive shifting, because this will not be replicated later. Again, ever. So it's like, instead of waiting for the next better thing, let's enjoy every part of it and grow at the same time, and stop fighting it, because it'll move faster. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey, because the journey never ends. We have to understand that the journey will never, ever, ever end. We're not designed that way, not physically and not as source. Source never stops expanding, growing, and reaching new levels of itself, because it's not stagnant. Nothing is stagnant in any facet of design. Everything is perpetual motion, perpetual expansion of sorts. This is the thing. So we're expanding. Enjoy each facet of the ride, instead of, if you enjoy fighting it, and fight it. But when you don't enjoy it anymore, don't fight it. Flow with it and expand with it. So don't wait for the dream to come. Keep living, projecting, and experiencing the dream each moment, the imagination, every part of it.
Yeah, I like that. And that's not fluffy love and light shit. That's just, and so, not to say that I'm here or there. I'm just saying what I was talking about with Biden is a good example, because like many people, Trump was entertaining. He was engaging. There's some good and there's some bad with that, whatever, but it is what it is. And that energy that was represented by him served a purpose, and I guess still does to some extent. But now I look at Biden, and it's exactly what you're saying. You just basically explained my feelings, which is I have a real appreciation for this. It is a window. It's an expression of the mastery of us all, and it's laughable, but not in a no longer in a sarcastic or superiority kind of way. It's actually laughter, as in we took ourselves too seriously. It's a beautiful thing. It's cool, and it's what you're saying. So, and the fact that you say this period, this phase or whatever isn't going to last forever, you better enjoy it. That really resonates a lot, because above all else, one of the things that this whole, God, I think of what time span do I want to give this? Yeah, I could say a week or a day or 2021 or whatever. But one thing that really stands out is the connection and the correlation between gratitude, because you cannot fake gratitude. The universe knows who you are, right? I mean, you can't fake. But so to be in any circumstance, no matter what it is, and to be able to find some gratitude, it really isn't that difficult. We're freaking gods and gods in the flesh, for Christ's sake. So, but what I'm trying to say is there is an immediate payoff. Today was an experience for me, from early this morning, talking to one of my kids, 3, 4 in the morning. And from that point, there was again this natural kind of rhythm that by hook or crook or whatever's happening, it's becoming apparent. Just it's apparent that my body likes this organic juice. There's this other thing happening all the way around. It's a parallel. And so in this period of 12 hours, I watched in my own field the reciprocation of gratitude, of a little bit more than that. You say presence, collaboration, co-creation, honesty, rawness, in abundance, and it is the newest and best code that I've ever received. And it was only in this 10, 12 hour period, which is culminating with you and the sneezing before it happened. So I knew this was going to be a supercharged kind of thing. But this is what you're talking about to me. This is, I don't know. There's nothing more powerful to me than full transparency, which requires vulnerability. And that requires presence. And how can you be the highest potential of that which you are made in the image of if you're not present? It's like taking your kid down to McDonald's or the carnival, and you got your head up in the, it doesn't matter if you're up there on with Archangel Michael or you're thinking about your career, you're not with them. Right? So and again, it's laughable because we come full circle again, and I love the way you explain it. And I feel that what you're putting out and those like you is really occurring in real time. And that's why the code is so powerful. And I also know because my Kundalini just goes and goes and goes. Anytime it used to be tones, and now there's physical ramifications every time I'm in or around this energy. So, and I know I'm not the only one. So, exactly. Thank you for this brilliant explanation, because there's so much discussion, and there's been so much discussion about who, what, where, when. And it's like, back the fuck off, like I can't deal with that. I'm no longer going to be Atlas carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders. I want to be that which we are, which is what you say. We're here to play. And it's time. It's nothing to get excited about, nothing to get rebellious about, it's nothing to get it's just, chill out. And it's real. And I feel it's happening. And maybe I'm living in a fishbowl, but
let me throw two things I wanted to point out, if you don't mind. One of the things that it just reminded me as you were talking away there, that one of the things that was presented as a collective with our brother sister souls that are kind of working with us, and this may relate to what we were talking about earlier. Instead of delaying, like, remember when I said ready or not? One of the other things that I wanted to mention, and I kind of slipped my mind, is you're either in it and use it to the max, and then when you're done, get packing and go. Meaning to the multidimensional soul, possibly the human entity, whatever it is, because we're no longer delaying anything. We're going to keep moving, and as fast as we can, we'll push it as fast as we can. So I just wanted to add that part. The second, this is a question to everybody. Where has there been more growth? Just a question to reflect. Where has there been more growth? With Trump or Biden?
Touche.
Okay?
Oh,
That's the
wow.
reason it switched, because
Mhm.
originally it was planned differently. It switched and it was allowed to go that route because there was more growth where it is now, because we are allowing ourselves more self-empowerment rather than dependency and reliance on the so-called person.
And
I'm
the
not
answer,
saying both are.
the answer is Biden.
Mhm.
Just so there's clarification, and I still remember verbatim what you said 10 days before the election. We still don't know. We all of us have not decided. But you said if we go down the red road, it's going to be a slower process. But if we go down this other road, it's going to get messier, but we're going to see the truth unveiled, and the deconstruction is going to come much quicker.
Yep.
Now, had you said at the time what you just said, I probably would have went, no, what are you talking about? And I've agreed with 100% pretty much. But it's true. We have grown more, not even close, in my opinion, in what it's been, 8 months. This has been phenomenal. This has been, and again, that's part of the reason that I asked the question about Jason's, his what he shared, because there's something happening so fast now. It doesn't feel like the same ascension line that we've been on. It feels like we went like that. and it's like, a lot of people talked about integration, an integration period. And I think you spoke to this one way or the other post Sedona. How that was, mid-May, something occurred, a couple of weeks to integrate. Todd, it was the perfect time to have this thing. And then, of course, June, July, and August, I don't have to say anything to anybody. You know what I mean? Because everybody knows what that's been. But it's just, and if that is the reason, or one of the reasons of what created this acceleration, this supercharge, it makes perfect sense to me. And in fact, whatever we've experienced in this previous 8 months since January the 20th, I feel like the next 8 days will be a lot bigger than that. I mean, I'm being a little extreme and exaggerating, but it just feels, it doesn't even, it's so natural as well, because I've heard a lot of people say this. They'll say, oh, this is happening to my body, and this is happening emotionally, and this is happening. And then they'll say, but you know what? It feels really good. It feels really nice. Like something's okay. Just, yeah. Beautiful.
And this growth that I was talking about is not localized to the USA. It's it's global, because all of it is interconnected. All of it is interconnected, because there's more being exposed everywhere because of it. So I'm not saying, it's just all depending on that. There's so much to it. Even this so-called pandemic and everything else, it's not only a wake-up call, but it's also giving us the opportunity to make more growth, to self-realization, to no longer rely on rules or what anybody is projecting and so forth, and making your own decision, becoming more self-empowered, more self-directed, more deciding, hey, what do I want to give power to? What world do I want to live? So it's really, everything is playing out for our service. And if we get to a stagnation point, you have some options. You make your body available and another drop-in can come in, or the fact that in one way or another you say, okay, I'm going to exit out and that's it. You're not going to be here, in that so-called avatar, but you always continue to exist. So all of this, the way it's all playing out, it's so amazing to just to sit back and observe it. I mean, yeah, the ego can get in there and make it look like all hell's breaking loose. But what it is, it's just basically it's shaking and all the fruit's falling down so that we can go and collect it. That's all it is, And but what are we collecting? We're collecting ourselves. We're collecting.
Yeah, right. It's just. So I have another question.
Mhm.
I have these weird questions. So when we were at Sedona, I was anxious to. I wanted to be there the moment that you and Jason actually met. I thought this would be interesting. Anyway, I wasn't, but I asked y'all. I asked you about it, I asked you both about it. We were sitting there talking, and you said that we're from different parts of the multiverse, but we recognize each other. Now, I believe we're all here, especially on Earth, uh, as ambassadors of some segment or some place of origin within the multiverses, and we all, like you said, we all have our own things that we contribute. Uh, without getting too complicated and understanding that everything goes back to the one, and taking into consideration there seems to be a galactic presence that's just as much a part of us like everything else in the universe. It seems to be kind of a facilitator for this experience that we're having. What I'm trying to say is they're obvious. Our differences are our strength. That is our beauty, right? I mean, and that's what this field of polarity has offered us. But are there different, how would you say this without getting, divisive, but are there different agendas? Even if we go to a higher perspective, and maybe that's not the right word, are certain specialties pushed, and understandably, by those that carry that code? And is that some of what we see? And knowing that everything's converging and integrating, but is that some of what we see even in these circles? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I'm not sure if I understood that completely.
We spend a lot of time, obviously, in the trenches, and in the old days when we were more immersed in what was being presented to us by this matrix. So I'm a Democrat, you're a Republican, and so on and so on. Now we're getting into a higher level of perspective, and we're being kind of like, we're going down that road. We're converging everything, walk the talk, and embodiment and that. But there seems to be, and I'm not really talking about you and Jason, because I actually see y'all very aligned. But there seems to be hard and fast, expressions and downloads and communications being shared that are in contrast, are in difference with others who seem to have the same intent. And I don't want to talk about dark light and false light and all that, because I don't believe in all that. It's all the same thing. But how, that seems to be coming in, and it seems to be being put up, onto the carpet like everything else. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Right.
So I'm in, and I kind of got lost in the question there, but I guess what I'm trying to say is,
Yeah, I think I got a better understanding of it now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yes, I mean, this is the thing. Various people are bringing various messages and so forth. They may be, like you said, different agendas. Now, the reason that exists, and I'm going to give you a simple example here, or analogy of sorts, and that is we have TVs and we have the internet or whatever. Let's stick to the TV just to simplify. There's a lot of different channels, and each channel has a different show or movie, whatever it is, with a different theme. They don't appeal to everybody. They appeal to certain people based on the stage they're at. So there will be a message there. They'll get what they need to get. And by integrating that message, they will align with that message with their experience for a period of time. And eventually they may not be interested in that channel anymore. They're going to change the channel. So because of the design of things, you're going to have multiple versions of projections or sharing that various people will interact with and use it as part of theirs. But the thing is, whatever is being shared is going to trigger or remind you of facets that you need to be reminded of and that you're going to use for yourself for a period of time. Could be long-term, could be a short period of time. I know that when I started sharing information, just to bring myself into the thing, and I'm talking about my multidimensional soul, it is from a whole different universe. Okay. And that universe has already done a lot of these experiences. Not the same because there's no duplications whatsoever, but it has had opportunities to play whatever. The only reason the soul came back to this universe because it was originally involved when the retooling was done. It has done a few retoolings, but this was the last retooling it did 15,000 years ago. So it was involved with a group of engineers, and it retooled planet Earth, re-encoded, wrote a whole new matrix, connected the matrix with the other planets in the quadrant, and also aligned a sequence of unfoldments or sequence of reactivations to allow planet Earth to be able to go from organic 3D all the way to organic 90 over a period of time or a period of sequences. Then, of course, it was involved in designing these physicalities and so forth, and then put it into action. And it would come every so often as a drop-in just to kind of check on things and whatever else that was going on. So since my return, and when I say my, it's not Franco I'm talking about. Franco's the avatar physicality that is referring to the human. As much as it has had some modifications, it's still very much aligned to what the humanity all shares. But when it came back, it says, okay, we're going to reactivate as much as possible and make whatever changes are necessary, but not to do it for everybody, but to remind everybody, because everybody's got the same codes within themselves, because they all got planted with the same codes and so forth within, so that they will actually get back on track and go from the inverted matrix that got put in 10,000 years ago back to the original organic matrix, and also to bring it back online in moving in dimensional consciousness and so forth. So when I came here, or when my soul came here, most of everything I shared was never, ever polarized. Why? Because it came in as close as possible to the understanding of sourceness, that there is no polarity. There's no right, no wrong, no good, no bad. No, there is no hierarchy. There's none of that stuff, which most people had a difficult time understanding. And there is no, dark shadow, whatever. They're all just role players, all different components that are playing a role or whatever it is coming into place. And I still today share all of that. And then I know that it doesn't matter who steps into whatever role, they're all playing a particular key instrumental roles, and they have all shifted to whatever it is. So I'm not for what I share, my soul shares through Franco, is not for everybody at this time, but there are many, many, many more people recognizing it and reactivating themselves. But all these other individuals that have come in, some have played many polarities, dark, light, good, bad, whatever, are awakening or demonizing or hierarchying or anything of that nature, but they were all instrumental to wherever the stages were at various individuals and where they want to. It's like all those other channels. Not everybody was ready for the other. I'm not saying that, again, I'm not also able to share, or my soul won't share every detail until more people are ready and when others are ready, because I've seen it. I've seen it. As much as I've been speaking this stuff, from day one, but more actively from 36 years, 37 years ago till now, it just keeps adding more and more and more and more and more to it because people are more and more receptive without getting too shut down or too mystified with all of this stuff. But the sharing is not teaching. It's not, it's just the words are reminders, reactivators of your own knowing, and also the frequencies that it's transmitting through me, because I feel energy, and anyone that's feeling it can feel energies coming in. But that's really your energies that are reactivating within yourself. And there's a recognition of it because it's already you. It's you. Now, there's been beautiful souls and are beautiful souls on the planet that have already come in from really high vibrational frequencies, and it lowered it. It turned it down to play the game, whatever it was. So this is all reactivating all of this. So they're all beautiful individuals that are coming in with different parts and pieces, and they'll share it and so forth. I remember when people were talking about the Ho'oponopono, when people were talking about, this dark light, light workers, dark workers, this, that, forgiveness, and all of these things. And I know I shocked people when I said that's not how it works, but if that's what you can handle right now, use it, no problem. But you've also noticed a lot of that has changed. Because even the Ho'oponopono used to have 4 parts to it. Now it's only down to 2 parts. Thank you. I love you. No more, I am sorry. Forgive me. Because no 2 parts with a bridge. But now you don't need the bridge because now you can fly with the very true essence. You're thanking yourself. And I thank you. I love you. Because there's a different level of appreciation to see it. So the whole idea of forgiveness is no longer forgiveness. It's a recognition of their role, a recognition of your part in it, a recognition of the opportunity of growth. And so you're acknowledging it, thanking it, loving it, and letting it go. That's all you're doing. So I'm just giving you 2 little components. The fact of that we live in a reality that we do not need to play with all of this, and we can move it quickly, but not everybody's ready for that. So we do it in stages and so forth. So the stages are up leveling. The whole idea of, we're waiting for the saviors and so forth. And I've always said, listen, first of all, no one's going to come and save you. First thing, because we're there. But I have another part to it. There's no saving required.
There's nothing to save.
There's nothing to save and nothing to heal. Nothing is broken. Nothing is wrong. All you're doing is you're now shifting from one sequence of created experiences to something that is more matching because you've upgraded, and you're only upgraded because you're done with the other part. That's it. Right? And I remember 2 decades ago, I mentioned, forget about this healing. Don't go healing anybody. All you're doing is holding a certain energy that they recognize and embody, and they reactivate within themselves because there's nothing to heal. You're not healing anybody. You're basically reminding them that they have another opportunity to experience themselves in a different way than the way that they've been experiencing. Emotionally, same thing. You're not healing an emotion. You're not healing a wound. What is a wound? It's a concept, an understanding, and a belief that this role was perpetuated, and there's a victimizer, and that now I'm damaged goods. No, you had an experience. Recognize the experience, and now you can shift from it when you appreciate and love it for what it is. Yeah, I may be scandalizing some people.
Here we go. This is good. Right? Healing modalities. I understand everything's changing. The landscape's changing. Every day it's changing. But it would only make sense, and the sooner the better, whether it be that or any other subject around victim consciousness. Okay, so and then of course the thought, the discussions about where things originate, which we could say just from the human perspective, are thoughts, right? At some point, that what we're at some point we're not serving ourselves by serving in that manner. And I understand there's a buffet, and I understand that, and I love the thing about the TV set because there's all these different channels, but they're all on the same TV. And not only that, but on the channels, there's all these different shows. So there's like Flower of Life, right? But yeah, so the I never heard this about Ho'oponopono, whatever you call it. It makes whatever. So you, I said it wrong. So you, but you don't need. I'm sorry and I forgive you, because I'm sorry and I forgive you is replaced by thank you. We used to look at triggers as, oh, holy shit, but now we go, thank you. Thank you for showing me that. So this is what you're talking about. Now that would apply all the way around, right? I mean, there's nothing to heal. There's nothing to forgive. And if that's the case, other than providing, like you said, providing a program or a channel in that TV set for someone to go through and select for their own personal growth and to turn and activate, reactivate code, it still would seem to me that at some point, I don't have a job. You don't have a job. You know what I mean? Right. So
yeah, but then we can put our focus on having fun and playing with all the playmates that are and so forth. So, but again, we're all having different experience. We're going to share the experience. We're going to love the experience of whatever it is. It's no longer now, okay, I got to play this particular role because I am in the process of stimulating as many remembrance and what people call awakening people and so forth. That role will shift and we play a different role. And the thing is, there's no more the pressure that role has to be a specific way. So that's the part that shifts in all of this. And then we get to live life a different way. We get to play life a different way. We get to go into the experience in a different way. That's really what's taking place. I think you froze, Todd. Hopefully we don't lose what's going on. Anyways, while we wait for Todd to come back, I like the pose. It looks very good. You're in a state of meditation. But anyways, regarding the what's going on here, and you can catch this on afterwards, but the idea of being wounded or anything of that nature. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm still on. If I'm still on, let me know. Because I lost Todd, but that doesn't mean this connection dropped, so he might still be on. You're still on? Okay, thank you. Okay, so this whole idea where people are playing with being wounded or anything of that nature, it is a projection that the ego will create. If somebody did or said something a certain way, and we have a story or a belief system of some sort that this is something that is somehow creating damage or creating something that is not to your best interest, a lot of times we create a wound. Now, the wound is an idea. It's an energy that we create that somehow we put a lot of focus on it, and then we see ourselves in one way or another that this now has power. So you can become a victim by adopting the idea of a wound. Because look at it. If you feel wounded, now that has power over you because you gave it power. It's not that it took it away from you. You're the only one that can do so. The ego can convince you to do so. So if somebody did something to you and you feel damaged goods or damaged about it, you agree to it, you hold on to it, you identify with it, and it runs you. and it will continue to run you. But that is until you say, oh no, I don't want to be run by this any longer. And then you can turn it off. That deeper realization that we may have will be very powerful to move through things very quickly. And this is one of the things I've shared for years is don't go in and look at what happened to you and try to dissect it. Why did this happen? Why did you do this? Why did you hurt me or anything of that nature? Because those are all concepts and constructs that kind of distract and throw us back into that other state. Because when we really, really, truly realize how this all works, then you now can shift things very easily and look at it and say, okay, that was an experience. I had fun with this, whatever it is. I acknowledge the experience. What did I learn from it? Not only what did I learn from it, what did I give myself the opportunity to experience I couldn't experience, but at the same time, what can I get as the gem out of that and plug it in as my reality? And now fly with that and use it in that fashion. So by looking at all of that, then you can see how all of that works and move through it very quickly. We have been taught for so long or conditioned for so long to give so much realism and power to what may have happened, what role we played, what role anybody's playing, or the polarity part, that the unraveling is taking a little bit more effort to unravel. But with everything that's coming through, it's allowing us to unravel a lot faster. So this is what's occurring right now, and it's aiding us. But we are aiding ourselves to make it happen. We're bringing it online. We're the ones that are giving the instruction. I know all of us are not conscious of this, that how we're unfolding everything. We're sending out the assignments to all the role players, immediate role players, and also the extended role players that we see in the collective and whatever is going on. But this is the thing, is when you come to that realization, then you take the opportunity 100% and say, okay, if anything is in my life, anything that's playing out right now, let me use this opportunity to gain whatever I require it and then move on, because I can let it go. I can just purge it. You're no longer attached to any of it. No longer has to give you any power. And that's how it works. So anyways, I'm hoping that I'm still online with everybody. And I don't know, Todd, if he's coming back or not, how long he's going to be, because I don't know when he has to get back online with another show. If he has one, I don't know for sure. But there's so much more. I'm going to look at some of the comments to see if there's anything that you guys want me to expand, and we'll wait a few more minutes to see if Todd comes back on. If he doesn't, then we can wrap it up. Oh, Todd's watching too. Okay. Todd's laptop has ascended. Oh, okay. You're on, Franco. Will pregnancy be an option? Absolutely. I mean, pregnancy is always an option. The only reason we have pregnancies is because we want to have that experience. Now, how it plays out eventually along the way, that will change too. It does not have to be painful. It doesn't have to be so laborful in the sense of meaning that term. It doesn't have to take a certain experience, because this is more of an experience we've allowed ourselves, because the entry point, as much as it looks like it comes through the woman or whatever it is, actually is a formulation that is not quite that way, but that what is being experienced, the whole birthing process, is for the individual that is actually the mother, if you want to call it that, that's going through that process. Now, there is an engagement and all of that, so I won't get into all the depth of that right now. Okay, there's something about karma and things like that. I know I've talked a lot about this stuff here. as for the health issues and things of that nature that people are going through at the moment. Wow, there's a lot of questions, guys. Todd, if you could put a message up, if how far you want to go with this, and if you can let me know if we want to wrap it up today and carry on next time, you can let me know. Because there seems to be, I mean, I can go on for hours here with explanations. You know, can we talk about the ego? Can we, wow, that's fast. Oh, look who's coming back. And Todd's got a new look, and he disappeared. Here it comes, the dragon. Dragon, all right. Cute. We can't hear you. At least I can't hear you. So just make sure you're unmuted. No go? No go. Okay, Todd. Did you want me to wrap it up? You're the one that's at the controls here. I'm not sure what you're pointing at this point unless you turn your camera, but oops, we lost you again. Let me just check if we're still on here on the platforms. Oh yeah, we still are. Okay, cool. Cool. All right. This is fun. His other laptop. Be gentle, relax our bodies, upgrade. Yeah. Okay. Okay, well, hang on. We'll be back with sound soon. Okay. Tails, drone, the ship, whatever. Okay. I know we had karma, we had ego. There were so many different things that people are asking. I guess we'll have to do one day where we're going to address people's questions. I know, Todd, you always have a lot of questions that you ask, so we get into the conversation. But the conversation will go according to where we wanted things to go. As for anything about karma and stuff like that, we don't have karma. We do not have karma. We haven't had karma for 30 plus years now. Karma was unplugged in 1987. That used to be a soul directive, and it was also a human entity directive. And what karma was is basically giving us, because we were playing in the operating system of polarity, we wanted to experience both sides of each polarity. And it was never a punishment. It was never an opportunity where, you know, you play a negative role, you're going to have to experience a negative role or anything of that nature. There was a lot of misunderstanding around that and a lot of focus and energy put into that. But I think in my podcast, Advancing Consciousness podcast on YouTube, that's the title of the page. There is something on karma. But the whole point is that's been gone. So the balancing is no longer required. It actually makes us to be able to experience both sides, if necessary, a lot quicker than before. We're no longer streaming a whole lifetime to play with one facet or another. We're able to move back and forth a lot quicker. In regards to the so-called needing us to have an experience to realize, that's more of a creation, a facet that people have labeled as karma. I know some people have talked about that the karmic thing ended up in October 2019 or something like that. That is just another level of realization that came into play. I think Adam had mentioned that. That would have been more the focus point that we were still projecting it, because we were projecting what we call karma into the matrix, and the matrix was reflecting it. It was a way to get feedback of whatever we were playing. But that in October of 2019, as Adam had mentioned there, was not being reflected anymore, and the collective was not even giving it much more power to it. Is there an ancestral karma? No, that was all wiped out a long time ago also. See, you have to understand that a lot of things that we change along the way, we change it due to the fact that we upgrade any facet of it so that we go into next stages. Because everything serves until it no longer serves, because now what served and may have helped at certain points now can become an anchor or can be something that slows the process down. This is why we do changes. This is why we even got rid of the timelines just to perpetuate and move things a lot quicker. So this is the thing. As for the ego itself, that's just a software, and I've talked about that many times before. The software was really only applied only when we were playing in the inverted matrix, inverted 3D, 2D. That was the only way we can actually play it and get lost in it. And it's still active to some degree, but it's losing its reinforcement because it's no longer being reinforced by the moon satellite, and it's no longer enforced by the inverted matrix because the inverted matrix is no longer there. But we're still projecting what looks like an inverted matrix at this point in time, but that's all fading away anyways. So as that is changing, as the energies are going higher and higher and more connection to ourselves, then the ego's software starts to crumble more and more and loses its capacities and so forth. Welcome back, Todd.
That's never happened ever.
Oh, okay.
Very strange. Very, very funny. I knew it was going to be a big transmission.
Well, there's definitely a lot of energies going on. I can feel it. I'm getting dizzy now.
So. My head was doing my skull inside my skull has been doing incredible things. This whole thing. Yeah. I don't know what to say.
Well, if you want to catch up on some of the things I was saying while you were gone there.
No, I was listening. I had the phone. Oh, okay. I was listening. Yeah, no, I got you.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, that's 2 hours. How you feel?
Good. And you definitely have to take a break in a minute to use the facility. Well, you're going to carry on. If not, we can pick up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we can do that. I just want to say to you, Franco DeNicola, the vessel, that I'm just so thankful you're in my life and that you're here. My final question is, why did you stay?
Why did I stay?
You said earlier, and I've heard you say it before, that your role in engineering the reset 13,000 years ago, give or take, and how you dropped in to see how things were going. Why did you come in and embody Franco DeNicola? And I'm sure you had choices. Why did you stay?
Well, the thing is, when I agreed to come, it was an offering. It was more of a convincing of sorts to be able.
You were convinced?
Yeah, the soul was, not Franco so much. So the soul was basically, okay, you have the ins and outs of it. You have the capability to go in and bring a restoration plus the updated stuff going on, but it's going to take some time. So the agreement was that you come on board, and the agreement was for 120 years. So that was basically until 2077. So the agreement was to come in and do a full embodiment, because this is the first full embodiment. When I say full embodiment, right from birth type of process, where the body was actually taken. The body actually, in fact, was not totally all fully done the normal way. It basically used some of the genetics from my mom, genetics from my dad, was brought on a ship, was modified, added a couple of extra DNA strands in, put a couple extra encodements, changed the operating system, designed a bunch of things, only to have the flexibility to be able to hold a unified soul of sorts, because at that time it was unified as a dual, and now it's 96 of them. But and then at that point in time was to come in for 4 years in the stage of observing only, So the first 4 years were to integrate and to observe. So I observed my environment. I observed what my parents were going through and all the people around it and so forth. But then after that 4 year period, and the time came and says, okay, now you have to integrate and actually have to live a certain human experience. That means you cannot use all of your access that I have now, of course, through that period of time. So at age 4, after completing age 4, it says, okay, 80% of your access now has to be turned off. It will be there, but you won't have the key to get in. You can't have it freely stream. You get to keep 20% because that'll help you to be able to integrate and also do the back end work and all the other stuff that you need to do. So that ended up going for 40 years without having access to the 80%. And then it started to trickle back in. So when that started to trickle, so at age 44, it started to trickle back in. And then that was over almost like a 10-year period. And then by age 54, it was fully all back. And again, now you have a full access to it, but you still use it because the energies around it won't support it. And then what happens if you bring too much of it too quickly back in, and start using too much of it back in, you become invisible. And when I say invisible, it's like you're on a completely channel. Not only people don't understand it, you can't have the same access to the collective's dealings and whatever they're dealing with. Humanity doesn't even understand you. So now I had to learn how to take this pocket of consciousness that's constantly growing and the collective consciousness and what Franco was observing as the human of sorts, and then start to kind of juggle and blend and create something that was usable to be able to upgrade the collective, but also to stimulate people. So I didn't come here to fix anything. I came here to reactivate certain parts, but to really share so that you activate yourselves. Everybody activates themselves. And that's the thing. So as much as, when my guide said, listen, I came in to activate 2000 so years ago, I came here to activate love, pure love, true love, pure love. You're coming in to activate oneness, which is just the next facet of love, true love. But the oneness, it's not your responsibility to do so. You activate it, but everybody has that oneness. Everybody has that pure love in them. And that's what they're basically doing. So it's not here because Yeshua, when he came here, he didn't come here to be the deity. He didn't come here to tell you, I'm here to save you. I'm not here to save you from your own sins or whatever which was an illusionary thing, which is basically just, when you look at it, it's just off the mark, not really understanding the depth of it. He didn't come here to fix anything. He came here to share information and with his energy activate love. That went dormant when the modification got changed 10,000 years ago. And all I'm doing is my energy, the energy of my soul is transmitting through me. And through this call, anything I do or anything that I'm holding on in any space at this point in time is just activating your own oneness. And oneness is not similarity to everybody. It's a oneness of a recognition that we're all beautiful expressions. We're all one and we do this all together. And the only way we can do it is because we've designed it so that we do it in our multifaceted expressions of ourselves, right? So that's it. And my role will shift along the way. We're doing it together. And that's all we're doing. We're playing. We're having fun with all of this stuff.
Good. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. I could go on for hours. But I have to go lay on the couch. Yeah. No, it's been great. It's always great. It's always great.
Well, it's always great to connect with you. I love the energy that everybody holds. You have a very specific way. the stuff I share with you, the stuff that we play together with, and so forth, they're all unique. Like I do other shows too. The energy, the fundamentals are there, but where it goes and how it's displayed, how it's shared, the interactions are always different. They're all different because we're both a beautiful different makeup, and each one of us, and then if the people that are drawn to it add the extra to it and actually fly with it. So I am completely in great appreciation that we've connected some almost 2 years ago now. I know TL kind of was in the instigator at one point. She kept saying, "You got to go," and I think she's kind of connected with you at that point in time, some 2 years ago. And then we got to play, and here we are. We do one every 2 weeks now, and kind of people enjoy it. I enjoy it. We get to share. But the best part of an enjoyment is I feel the shift every time we connect that happens with everybody. And I see things, and like I'm in awe with all of this because I get to play more of me with all of you, and all of you get to play more of you with us coming together. And when I'm like this, I fly. When I'm having more of the human experience, it's not as fun. I attempt to have as much fun as possible, but not always. And I know I had taken on some pretty big projects, and that has been reflective health-wise and so forth, which now I'm creating a shift around. So it's not that I'm going through a healing process. I'm going through a shifting, completion and shifting, well, which I call transformation, which is basically what my guide has always been saying. You're transmuting, transforming, all of this stuff, as many of us are doing, because many of us got on board, and many of us may be feeling pretty powerful shifts energetically, physically, and having old elements come out, but even new stuff. But because we take it on, we integrate it, and then we transmute it. And when we're transmuting it, we're plugging it in, we're pumping it into the collective, so that not everybody has to have the same experience. So each one of us plays a role of it, and so forth. So we're all powerful, unique, beautiful beings. And thank you for holding the space. Thank you for all the people that have come on. Thank you for all the beautiful comments, all the beautiful sharing that everybody's doing with each other too. So cool.
Very good. Very cool. I enjoyed it always. And it's hard to say goodbye now. But yeah, this is great. What a great interaction. So I'll see you in a couple of weeks, and thank you again. And everybody, please visit Advancing Consciousness series. It's all over, Facebook, YouTube, website. I think you're on Venmo. Although I heard you had some problems on YouTube when I did. That go figure.
But, yeah, I did, and then that got resolved. And then this week I couldn't get on Facebook.
Same here.
Well, I put everything on, I got on, and it was just buffering. It just kept saying it's not accepting the single. And we tried, and then finally said, okay, forget it. I'll upload it later, because I do make a copy of it as I do it. Then I uploaded it afterwards. But lately I've noticed that I've been access has been reduced. Like the views and everything else are being held back. At some points, eventually it opens up. But a couple of weeks ago, YouTube was not showing it to anybody. I was having a lot of messages from people say, hey, I saw that you were coming on, and I couldn't see you on. But I was on, but nobody was getting the notification. Nobody was even seeing it. And then I got flagged. So I got flagged on YouTube. So it took a week before they cleared it up, and they finally, so I had to go in and change some of the description, because I did throw a couple of words in there that were taboo. So I cleared that out, and then so I got back online again, and then it started to distribute once again. And then this week, and then I noticed Facebook was messing around with things, because it would be on and then it wouldn't be on. It would be on and then it wouldn't be on. And this week it didn't even want me to go live.
Yeah.
So
they didn't want me on.
Whatever.
So I got the 2 strikes on YouTube around the same time you had those issues, and then I got 2 strikes on Facebook. This, like the past week. So something's in the air. I feel like it's transformation. That's how I approach it.
Mm.
So yeah, this is cool. They said we're
All
gel
right.
twins. Gel twins.
Cool.
All right, everybody.
Okay, guys. Love you
It
all.
was good seeing everybody. Thank you, Franco. Love you. Thank you,
You
everybody.
too.
We'll see you in a couple of weeks, Franco. Take care.
Okay.